Welcome back, Ultimate fans. I've got an exciting show for you guys today, and if you've been enjoying the show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. With more subscribers and more people tuning in, we're going to get this show bigger and better each and every week. Our first part of the show today is, of course, more signings going on in the AUDL. That's that's all that's going on in the AUDL offseason is signings. But we're going to start in the Central today. Giannis making it back now to Chicago Wildfire. He has always been a big key part of that offense, and truly one of the best players who has, I think, the butteriest of flicks. It is so smooth coming out of his hand. He can get that disc so far and fast, unlike any other handler that I see in the AUDL. Key part of that offense who has consistently put up huge assists. He's been a 3-time AUDL assist leader. He is an incredible asset to this team, someone that I think is a key signing each and every year when they bring him back to keep that stability within that team and that offense. This is a key time for this team to be successful, especially now with Pittsburgh gone. This is a big chance for them this year to get ahead, and now having Giannis coming back, he's going to just bring consistency back to this team, and they give him a real chance to be a threat in this Central Division and possibly move into that playoff spot. Moving on over to the Atlantic Division, we have Alex Thorne making his move over to Philadelphia Phoenix. He was a great handler over there in Pittsburgh for the Thunderbirds, huge threat there. I think he's going to do the same thing here with Philly. This is a team that I think needs that kind of stability there in their offense, especially in the handler position. Not that they don't have that, but adding someone like Alex Thorne is going to bring a whole other level to this team, and it's going to provide more opportunities for those downfield cutters. You got someone like Sean Mott, who I think you're going to start seeing Thorne and Mott really making some connections. This is a player who's always thinking 3 or 4 throws ahead of time. He's someone who looks at the progression of the offense, gets himself into position to either make the assist or get down and get in there in the end zone and score. He's also a threat downfield. Putting him here in the handler position is going to really provide a lot more opportunities for the rest of the team to really fit into their roles and play some successful offense. This is a team that has been on the rise for a while. This is one of the biggest signings that they've had since Marquise Brownlee came in. Now having him with this team, I'm hoping that there's going to be some gelling going on for the first couple games. This is a time for this team now moving into another division. It's almost like they're starting from scratch again. They were just starting to get a real solid hold in the East. Now coming to the Atlantic, they're going to be playing a lot of different teams. Having someone like Thorne, the depth that he provides and the style of throws, he's very creative. He's someone now who's going to just give them that little bit of a leg up as they move on through this new division and a new territory. Big signing for Philadelphia Phoenix. This is exactly what they need as they come into a new division and try to really set hold and put themselves in a position to possibly succeed and find themselves in a playoff spot. Now down to our final signing. We are moving over to the East, and you know I had to talk about this guy. He is the most successful AUDL player in history. That is 5-time AUDL champion Bo Kittredge signing back with New York. And if you're New York, you're statistically more likely now to get an AUDL championship by having this guy on your team. There's only been 8 AUDL championships. He's won 5 of them. This is a stellar player, and what makes him such an interesting person to have on your team is if you look at his stats independent of like the rest of his team, he really doesn't stand out that much. He's not the top scorer, he's not the top defensive player, but he brings this kind of attitude to your team, a culture of winning. All of a sudden everybody else just has this boost of confidence, and all of a sudden now you're a contender just by having him on your team. If you look at the history of New York over the last few years, I mean, they had Harper Garvey, they had Ben Yott, they've had a lot of these great players for a long time. Now you bring in Bo, and all of a sudden you're winning a national championship. Now there was other great players they brought in, Lindsley, Jack Williams, so all of a sudden you're getting all these great players coming back together. You're signing Bo once again. He's looking to get another AUDL championship, I'm sure. And New York, every time I talk about him, each and every week when I start bringing up this team, I always finish with, I feel like they're going to repeat, and having Brian Jones as your coach is only going to improve things. This team looks fit and ready to go. On to the big part of the episode. We did a 4-part series where we talked about each division and who I thought was going to win and move on to championship weekend. I thought about adding a little bonus segment to that series. You can actually catch all of these in my playlist that I've created with the AUDL predictions for 2020. But this time I'm going to predict who I believe is actually going to win it all this year, and then maybe add another prediction there at the end. We've talked about this team a little bit, and I really haven't been talking about some of the signings because I was saving it for this episode, but we're talking about the Dallas Roughnecks. I think this year they're going to be the team that wins it all. I know I've been talking a lot about New York. I think they are definitely capable as well, and it's really going to, I think, be a rematch or a battle depending on how the playoffs work out, that it could be another New York Dallas in the championship championship, this is the year for Dallas. The last 4 years, they've been runners-up 3 times. This is a team that's so hungry to win. I think this year, they're going to be playing a little angry. They're going to be playing hard each and every game. There's going to be no mercy. Look at this roster. When you go through each name, it does kind of remind me back in 2016 when they first showed up in the league and you read that roster, you're like, oh my gosh, these are some of the best players. And now you look at this roster, it's not only the best players in the AUDL and possibly the world, but these people have AUDL experience. These are people who are used to playing on the larger field. These are people used to playing with the clock and the 7-second stall count. Look at the roster. Hankey coming in, Slack, Emmons, Brandon Malachek back, Abe Coffin, Jay Frude. You can just keep going down. The Larberg brothers, I can't stop. I just can't stop. This is an incredible roster. Every time I look at it, I start to sweat because as a fan, I look at this roster and go, "Ooh, this team looks hot." And if I'm another team looking at that roster, especially knowing if I have to play them during the regular season, I'm going to start sweating. This team looks stacked. If they can stay healthy, I really see this team moving right through this division and moving on to championship weekend. And it'll be a close one against New York if they battle it back out again. I mean, that's kind of my prediction is if the playoffs align right, it's going to be New York and Dallas once again. But Dallas looking pretty strong moving into 2020. This is their year. I predict them to win it all, winning there in Madison and getting their second AUDL title. I know we haven't even started the season yet. We're about 6 weeks away, and I've been making a lot of predictions based on pretty much my own knowledge of what has happened in the past and what I've seen in rosters and what I've heard from coaches. This is, it's been a wild offseason, one of the most exciting, I think, for the AUDL moving into a new decade. Now, I kind of want to go out on another limb and predict who I think might actually be the MVP this year. Now, I'm basing this off of pure nothing. All it comes down to with the MVP is stats, how they performed during the season, as well as the culture of the team itself and where they've placed and how they've competed against other teams, possibly getting to championship weekend, being that one player that really defines the team and brings them, and it's without them, the team just isn't the same. I'm actually going to stick with Dallas. It's a player on Dallas, I believe, who's going to get it this year, and it's somebody who we actually saw last year when they did not have him. Could have been a crucial reason why they lost the championship game. I'm going to pick Jay Frude. When he was in Madison, he wasn't as big of a name, but he was still making incredible plays. And then he moves down to Dallas, and that first year you go, wow, look at this guy. Jay Frude, I'm starting to see his name pop up all the time. And then the year 2 there, you're like, this guy's incredibly good. I mean, we've all known it. He's always been that way. He just keeps improving himself each year. He's not only a threat downfield and he can sky you, he can box you out. He's got a big build about him that he's a threat keeping you from the disc. And if he's on defense and he's guarding you and he's coming after you, you have a little bit of a worry in the back of your mind that this guy's going to get physical up in the air. He has an aggressive style about him, but it never goes beyond that line. He's always well respected within the rules, but he does bring an aggressive attitude that makes it a little bit harder to play against him than, let's say, other players. Not only is he a good thrower, he's great on offense. He can run the disc down. He's an incredible defensive player. He can last the whole game. He rarely has to take subs. This is a quality player. And the reason I'm picking him for MVP or predicting him to become the MVP this year is basically based on him getting injured during championship weekend. And you saw not really having him for that game. I think if he was there could have been a different outcome. I think the game could have been even closer and it might have gone Dallas's way. And if that doesn't scream MVP, I don't know what does. Now, it's really based on how he performs this season. If they push through the division and rock everybody and get into championship weekend and be successful and everyone stays healthy and Frude puts up great numbers, and if they definitely win the championship, I think Frude could easily be picked. I think he's always been an incredible player. I don't think he's really been overlooked per se. He needs to have a stellar season this year. The team needs to do well. And if he can go in a championship weekend and make some really incredible plays during that run, and maybe during the championship game if they get there, make some very important moves and quality highlight reel plays, there's a very good chance that Jay Frude could become MVP this year. I know it's early. There's really no basis for this, but I really think he's the guy this year to keep an eye on, and if the team does well, I would not be shocked to see him at least in the running for MVP and quite possibly actually get the title. Before we wrap up this episode, I want to go over a couple last-minute news articles that's been going around the AUDL, mainly just 2 quick stories. If you've missed it, make sure you check out social media or the AUDL.com for all the latest news. Finally have the Game of the Week schedules out, so that way you can tune in on Wednesday nights and see these teams compete on Fox Sports 2. You'll have all of the Game of the Week scheduled, 16 weeks, and then it'll include the playoffs as well. There's going to be a lot of DC and Raleigh in there. You're going to have a good bit of Dallas. I think Dallas and San Diego are going to be competing against each other. So make sure you check out the schedule, see if your favorite team's playing. Games for the entire season have been released. You have the schedule for every team, home and away, plenty of games to tune into. All of this will be on AUDL.tv. You can also check these out at the AUDL.com. Jump into look where your team's going, who they're going to play. Get your schedules ready for this AUDL 2020 season. It's going to be an exciting one. Thanks again for tuning in. That's going to be it for this show. Make sure you tune in next week as we continue talking about new signings and everything going on in the offseason as we get closer and closer each week to the new season here in AUDL 2020. Thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all next week.